During World War II, there were a number of generals in different armies who became involved in executions and war crimes. The German army had a number of death squads that would follow them and would then execute civilians in huge horrific crimes. Millions were killed in this way, and after the war came to an end, very few people were brought to justice for their involvement in incidents like these. One Italian general who was executed for his war crimes, which included murdering a British prisoner of war, was Nicola Bellomo, who became one of a very few select number of Italian officers who were ever executed during World War II. He was the only Italian executed by a British-controlled court, but what did he do that led to his execution? Join us today as we look at the execution of Mussolini's general, and to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Nicola Bellomo was born on the 2nd of February 1881, and he was a high-ranking general in the Italian army. He was a long-standing man in the army, and he came from the regular class of the Italian Military Academy of Modena. He was very well trained, and he served during World War I, and during this conflict he had the rank of an artillery captain, and he was then awarded a number of medals during the First World War for his bravery in the conflict. But then following the end of the conflict and serving in the Italian army for some time, he then retired from active duty in 1936 at the age of around 55. However, as the Second World War waged on, he was yet again told to return to the army. He was considered an experienced leader, and because of this he became the commander of a zone controlled by Mussolini's black shirts and soldiers, and he also commanded the army in Bari province. But then he would commit war crimes, despite being just recently brought back into action and into the Second World War. On the 30th of November 1941, there were two British prisoners of war who managed to escape a prisoner of war camp. Captain George Plain, who belonged to the Royal Armoured Corps, and Lieutenant Roy Cook managed to get out from the Torre Tresca POW camp. However, a few hours later, they were recaptured. This escape attempt was very unsuccessful, and it was said that when they got back to the camp, Nicola Bellomo was waiting for the men, along with a number of soldiers. Bellomo said he personally wanted to find out what happened with the escape attempt, and he wanted to know specifically where they had escaped and what they had done. He then asked the British to show him where they had escaped from and to walk him through their plan. The British prisoners, however, seeing an opportunity to yet again escape, tried to, and then the Italian soldiers opened fire and they shot dead Captain Plain. The Lieutenant Roy Cook was also wounded very badly, and then an investigation took place, and it was said that Bellomo did not do anything wrong following the incident. However, on the 9th of September 1943, the day after the Italian forces signed the armistice with the Allies, Bellomo gathered a group of soldiers who were then tasked with counter-attacking the German soldiers, who tried to occupy the Port of Bari. During the action, Bellomo was injured, but his attack and plan worked, and the Italians forced the Germans back, and the port was not damaged, which was seen as a big plus. This then allowed British troops to land without any resistance on the 22nd of September, as the Italians protected them from attack. Following this, the British then established a force, and they moved north, forcing the Germans back. But then the month later, the whole area was secured by the Allies. Bellomo was considered a respected commander, and he remained in control of the zone in Bari and the Italian forces. However, then the information about Bellomo and the execution of Captain Plain came to light. For this he was arrested by the British military and was charged with murder and also attempted murder of the British prisoners of war killed in the shooting incident following the escape attempt. However, on the 28th of January 1944, he was arrested and was charged with shooting or ordering to shoot two British officers, causing the death of one of them and the wounding of the other one. The surviving prisoner, Lieutenant Cook, then wrote his account against Bellomo on the 5th of June 1945, and in the weeks after, he was moved to different prisoner of war camps. Bellomo's trial was arranged, and then his court-martial took place on the 28th of July 1945, and it took less than an hour for Nicola Bellomo to be sentenced to death by the British court. Bellomo then shockingly refused to ask for a pardon, and on the 11th of September 1945 he was taken out of a prison cell on the island of Inisida, north of Naples. The island was used to imprison Italian prisoners of war and Germans, but the British Army controlled it. Bellomo was executed by a firing squad made up of British soldiers who had been gathered to take his life. On the 11th of September 1945 he was led out to the firing range, and there his execution squad were gathered. He was secured to a post, and then the order to fire was given, when the firing squad shot straight and Bellomo was killed. His execution was considered a shocking one, as some believed that his court-martial was based on poor evidence and contradictions, and some believed it was unfair. After the war, the Italian government then posthumously awarded him a Silver Medal of Military Valour, and he was considered a man who valiantly defended the seaport of Bari. Nicola Bellomo was a military general who managed to push the German army back following the signing of the armistice with the Allies, but as he had executed a British soldier, he was considered a war criminal. He was a man who helped the Allies greatly. However, he was executed, but it's believed that his court-martial was not the fairest that it could have been, and it wasn't the fairest court that has ever been established in wartime. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.